Welcome, financial professionals. I am Steve Walker, Vice President of Institutional Accounts and partner at E4 Insurance Services, welcoming you to the Brew, building relationships every week. Thanks for tuning in. For those of you joining the Brew for the first time, welcome. We'd like to start the Brewcast by celebrating today's national days. We've got a few good ones here. We've got first off, National Hot Dog Day, Artificial Intelligence Appreciation Day. That's kind of a big one, a lot of big words. And then lastly, National Personal Chef Day. So combining it together, thinking of the good old Will Ferrell, Harry Carey Saturday Night Live. Going to have order some artificial intelligence to purchase a personal chef for the day and make Brad Mills his favorite St. Louis style hot dog. Not sure if that's a thing or if it's just Chicago, but we'll go with it. So today
we're a good hot dog.
Oh, who doesn't? I mean, it's a great staple. I think my kids could live on them. Today, we're continuing to July's lineup on worksite and voluntary guaranteed issue. I'm joined here by Brad Mills, Regional Vice President, and Doug Bowden, Director of Advanced Markets at Symetra, to talk about the wonderful world of guaranteed issue multi-life. And really, it's a topic that probably over the last couple of years, I know a lot of our advisors have really enjoyed. One of the biggest pain points sometimes can be underwriting, and I know, again, that's not always the case. Symetra's got some phenomenal underwriting, on their Swift platform in particular, both the Swift Term and the Swift Perm. But again, when we start looking at some of these executive bonus plans dealing with a number of lives, it's not only you got to take multiple applications. You've got to hope that you got a number of people that are eligible and not one cog in the wheel really derail the entire deal. So really excited to have Brad and Doug talk to us about what Symetra has within their multi-life program, because it really can be a great option for some of those executive benefits, whether we're looking at key person coverage, whether we're looking at executive benefit planning. But really taking some of that underwriting, the underwriting snafus out of the equation and just going, with the good old guaranteed issue. We'll talk about some of the specifics as we go. But I know we're going to have Doug kind of driving the show here in the program. But before we go over to Doug, Brad, just kind of want to maybe tee up a couple of questions for you and your travels and the agencies and advisors that you work with. But how are you seeing the executive benefit space really grow over the last couple of years, or maybe even longer than that, and how does the multi-life program really play into it?
Oh, thanks, Steve, and as always, we appreciate you out in the Brew land. Doug and I have been on a couple of times, and we appreciate the hospitality and appreciate your time listening to us on the Brew. So, and we write a lot of business with E4 and have fun doing so, and you're one of our best partners. So I appreciate that. To answer Steve's question, really, we've seen a pickup in this the last few years. I think more so because in the economy and then the executives workspace, it's pretty competitive, right? To recruit, reward, and retain key executives like we're talking about on the screen here. I just think those benefits packages are getting more competitive, and you don't want a key employee jumping ship to a competitor as well. So I just think it's about that conversation, but it's also, once we get into some of the specific plans, that it's about a level of control and an agreement with the key employee and the corporation. So I think we have a lot of strategies that can fit that space, and with the multi-life platform, those business owner strategies can lead right into that multi-life platform. As Steve mentioned a couple of these, but really to get started on this is having that conversation with the business owner or key executive. Are there key persons in the business that if they were gone, would it really hurt the company and the bottom line, right? Buy-sell planning, executive bonus arrangements, Section 162 bonus plans, non-qualified deferred comp. But the key here split dollar, loan regime or economic benefit. Doug's an expert in these plans as well. But the key being on the risk reward spectrum and also on the control spectrum from the corporation to the employee, it's just having that happy medium and then finding something that's attractive to both parties, and we can put those plans together for you and your friends from E4. So that's kind of, I guess, getting started with these plans is a conversation, and then tap your friends at E4 and then we can help you out. Really also, sorry, Steve. I mean, that was kind of long-winded answer to your question, but it's happened before.
That's all right.
But we'll do the best we can. But when we have those business owner strategies and land on a platform to put the plan in place, you do have that underwriting concession platform, employee relationship, where you can have league leading accumulation AUL product with an underwriting concession. With just our league leading AIUL product is we built it on a low charge structure, and we're showing two of our index accounts that were just released, NASDAQ with a bonus and an S&P with a bonus. But not to get in the weeds, but basically we're solving here for more of a executive benefit for a golden handcuff for a retirement type supplement plan, where we solve for a good amount of income versus the competition, have low charges, and we have a competitive multi-life space because we pay on target premium like the regular street product, not on a group type compensation chassis. So low charge structure, underwriting concession, and then I'll kick it over to Doug to kind of talk about the parameters of how we can fit this into our multi-life platform. So
one thing real quick, just before we go over to Doug, and really on this screen, I think you nailed it, Brad. When you talk about the low fees, again, I know the product itself speaks for itself, but again, when working with your RVP at E4 and we'll work with our design team and the great partners at Symetra, again, when you're looking at these types of accumulation solves, we want to make sure that we're doing what's right by that client. So again, getting that insurance death benefit down, getting that cash growth up, again, looking at those, those minimum non-MEC type of solves and things along those lines can really be great. And one of the things I'm excited about is really that moment what we're here to talk about, but it all starts with that concept. Again, whether it's a retention tool like we're kind of looking at here or whatever it is, that multi-life guaranteed issue. I mean, that's ultimately, like, I love the way you phrased it, Brad, that underwriting concession. It's not a policy. It's the way they go through underwriting. And again, that when you look at that accumulator cent right up there at the top of the charts, I mean, the product's the product. It's a great one. And when we get enough lives that we'll hear from Doug, can really just go through without the hiccups and potential headaches of underwriting. So we'll pass it over to you, Doug, and let's looking forward to learning a bunch.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, everybody, for having us on today. We appreciate your time in here. So as Brad was talking about in that previous slide, the Let's Get Started slide with all kinds of case designs, whether it's key person coverage, a deferred compensation arrangement, split dollar bonus, you'll notice a general theme in there. If you're familiar with those types of planning or conceptual techniques, is that you can have flexibility in ownership, right? If you have key person coverage, it's probably owned by the business. If you have a split dollar arrangement, it could be either owned by the business or individually or even trust owned in there, and bonus arrangements individually owned, right, in there. So what makes our program unique with Multi-Life is that we need a minimum of 10 lives to qualify for guaranteed issue in there, as opposed to maybe some competitors are up to 15 or plus lives. Don't worry about the maximum that you see on the screen. We can work with all groups in there to do that. And really, we're looking for a class of key individuals. So management, white collar style positions that are out there with an employer-employee relationship to qualify for this. And what's really neat about our program is not only do we have a minimum and maximum age, hey, how about that, 20 to 70, but it's more than what is the income to qualify? Titles are titles, job titles are job titles. And somebody could be a vice president of something, a vice president at E4, right, Steve? And, maybe they qualify for this, maybe they don't. So, $75,000 income to qualify it sets the bar at a reasonable expectation. And if somebody is participating in we'll call it a bonus arrangement, executive bonus arrangement, and they're at 70,000 and they're getting a bonus of $10,000 in the bonus arrangement, we'll accumulate that together and we'll call that 80,000 for income to help an individual qualify. So individual ownership, trust ownership, business ownership, complete flexibility there, and a minimum income of 75,000, which includes base plus any bonus in there to do that. So not a big hurdle to get in here. And then, of course, employer-employee relationship, which I talked about. I'm going to touch on those things in a quick second here. And as Brett said, the product that's available currently on this platform is our retail accumulator, IUL product. So you have still the same retail street product that's there. It's just we have you can see in that second bullet, we have rate classes, which are multi-life standard and non-nicotine. So you're either a smoker or you're not in there. And we have a multi-life class of underwriting in there to do that. As far as just little things, don't get too stuck in the weeds here, but we help with all this stuff. So the group just helps you with a high-level overview of those ages, and then we're looking for an average age of 55 or younger with the group in there. And, on top of just getting access to the guaranteed issue is we can have 1035 exchanges come into a guaranteed issue pool of an existing group that's out there. And we can allow for foreign nationals. You can see we'll allow 10%. So if you have a group of 10, I like to make the math easy. You can have one foreign national that qualifies underneath our high net worth foreign national program there in with the group. And we'll also allow for premium financing. And we just look at the finances from the employer standpoint, not the individuals in there. So it's still, to us, it's traditional premium financing. We're good with the lender. And then we review it just based on the business financials for the financing piece to do that. So those are all good in there. And we'll help out with all that stuff in there. Really competitive multipliers for guaranteed issue limits. So you can see in the chart that up to 19 lives, we can do 50,000 times the number of lives. And then when you get over 50 lives, we can do 75,000 times the number of lives. And just really kind of know, don't worry, about those details, but the maximum face amount we will write is 5 million. Did Doug just say 5 million for guaranteed issue? Sure. If you have the multipliers and you can get up to 5 million, we can write a $5 million face amount to do that. And we have a 20 times salary cap there, but I've never seen it as an issue. Maybe one day it will be, but just know it's there. And again, we help you with the math on these multipliers here. So if you had a group of 60 employees, you can see in the chart that that's where you might run into a 20 times salary cap if you're looking for $4.5 million of coverage and you have 50, we have to cap it at 3 million, right? To do that. Again, never seen it before, but it can happen in there. But no, just the multiplier is pretty straightforward: 50,000, 60,000, 75,000, depending on the number of lives that we have to do that. Oh, and let me back up to that again real quick. And does everybody have to have the same face amount? No. So, as long as we understand what those face amounts are within the multiple, like you could have a law firm, you could have senior partners, you can have junior partners, maybe senior partners are at 2 million, junior partners are at 1 million within the multiples. And we're okay as long as we understand what the qualifier is for those face amounts to do that. So just know that we're flexible on that.
I think one of the cool things with that,
too,
Doug, is
when it
comes to the different designs, for the advisors listening in, don't feel like you have to come to us with a, hey, here's how we want it, here's how we got there. Don't worry about the numbers. Come, if you show the concept and the idea, and your clients, those executives enjoy it. It's very, very frequently do we show a first illustration. That's what the clients go with. A lot of times there's, hey, let's maybe change, tweak, maybe add another clearly defined class. So like you talked about, Doug, have a, one death benefit here, one death benefit there, GPT versus CVAL. We can talk through all those iterations. Ultimately, it's, hey, do you have a group that we want to do some carve-out planning for? Do we have 10 or more that we can look at, considering multi-life? And then, hey, let's run a first run, and we can go and tweak it as we want. So don't get stuck in the details. Doug, Brad, E4, Symetra, we'll team up with you, and we'll help design it and run it in multiple different ways.
Yep. And as far as the underwriting guidelines go, this is the underwriting concession, if you will, right? These are the 3 questions that are on the application. It's a very short application. Have you ever been hospitalized or absent from work due to illness or accident for more than a total of 3 days in the last 3 months? And if you could say it 3 times really quick, you qualify. No, okay. In there. So that is a long-winded, worded question. And if somebody actually does say yes, that doesn't mean they're out. We just need to understand what the yes was, right? Could have been the flu, could have been broken arm, went to the emergency room, so whatever it is, that's not life-threatening, or on the top of an underwriter's list for no. Then we just visit it with the underwriter, and then we can put the person right back in the guaranteed issue pool, as long as it's acceptable. So answering yes doesn't necessarily knock somebody out. And are you actively engaged at work full-time? We're looking for 30 or more hours a week. And of course, the ever so wonderful tobacco question in there. That's it for the application to do that in there. Any comments, Brad, Steve?
I think, like you mentioned, Doug, it's, even a yes to that first one. I know there's a mark that says, not eligible for the program. But again, it's one of those common sense things where, like you said, I mean, it's going to look, hey, did you break a leg, or did you, have a, open heart surgery?
Triple bypass, yeah. To do that. So, so those are the 3 simple questions. The process, again, real easy, as Steve was talking about. You start with your initial quotes, see if it is a fit, see if the conversation continues. And then when the case becomes like an actionable item, we'll call it, then the process is really easy, where we just have a simple submission form, which helps create a cover letter, we call it, in there. And then we have a sample census where we're looking for X pieces of information in the census. And then when we get that, we can do a quick internal review here at Symetra. And then once we approve it, which we're only talking days here. We're not talking weeks like typical underwriting, medical underwriting here in there. And then once we've approved the case through our short process, then we do an offer letter. Once you have that offer letter in your hand, which it says it's good for 30 days, you are free to submit business right there. That's how quick we can turn this around. Brad's had a case where we've put a bonus plan in place, and I believe we did it in just about a week, Brad. And it doesn't have to be a big case. It was only like 10 or 12 lives, and it was a bonus arrangement.
What took you so long, Doug? You mean it took a whole week to get that thing?
We took almost 5 days, and Brad was pulling his hair out, to do it. So it can be pretty quick. And if you go beyond 30 days, which guess what, you're gonna, because cases don't always move. You get to one point, and then it's still a very active case, and then they're still figuring out certain parts and pieces of it. When we get to just about the 30 days, we just do a new letter. You're good for another 30 days. So don't worry about it. As long as we don't have anything serious going on, meaning like, maybe you have an age change that pops somebody above age 70, something like that, then we'll worry about that when the time comes to do that. So pretty simple process. And as Brad said, no matter what your design is, we have an employer-employee relationship. Employer is getting the list bill. Employer is selecting who's participating, and the employer is the payor. in these. We're completely flexible with the design on that ownership aspect to fit everybody's needs to do this within there. I'll just pause for a minute, see if you guys have any questions, comments.
I think
I may pop in real quick, if that's okay.
You bet. Go ahead.
Basically, like you said, Steve, a lot of these things start one way and end another, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing is to have that conversation. If it starts out and they're like, oh, I have a group of 12 employees, but they don't, now it only ends up being 5 or 6 in this class. Well, you can use our accelerated underwriting program. You can still use our same platform, meaning talking to E4, talking to Doug, talking to me about kind of the case design and setup. We can still put a key person Section 162 bonus plan for 5 or 6 people using accelerated underwriting on a regular product instead of multi-line. Also, if you talk to that business owner, Doug pulled up the slide here, there's a lot of opportunities when you talk to that business owner about personal planning, estate planning, wealth transfer, what's going to happen in the business if you pass away. All these different items that you can get into if you just have that conversation. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, no, I agree. Couldn't agree more. I think you hit on it. When working with business owners, there's just a multitude of different things you can talk about, both business and personal planning. Specific to the multi-life, and probably Brad, maybe a question for you is what are you seeing as kind of the if you had to pick a target market, as our advisors are thinking, all right, who do I talk to? If you could kind of identify, an industry or two, size of company, maybe even the relationship the advisor has with the firm. I mean, if you were to say this one's a really, really good profile to go after, what would you say would be a good starting point for our advisors listening in?
Well, we've done a few. It seems like there's been some repeat customers of a similar type of workforce. So lawyers groups are good, doctors groups are good. We've done regional firms where the decision makers on site. We always say, white collar job duties, but it doesn't have to be a white collar business. It could be a construction company, and it could be the estimators that go out and do bids. There could be 15 of those guys or the sales managers at a construction company, something to that effect. And I don't know, Doug, we've had one recently where it was doctors groups and nurse groups and where they can do an executive bonus plan, kind of golden handcuffs and have that cash value credit, carrot out there. And there's also, once they get that death benefit, that bucket of money there, they could even contribute as well. So I don't know, Doug, if you want to touch on that, but that doctors group idea is pretty solid. Lawyers group, different, partnerships as well as regional firms.
Yeah, you have the doctor groups, and we're pretty solid with those. Also, think about your regional hospitals, not national, larger hospitals. Not that you can't, but they are physicians on staff. Generally, a regional hospital will have 40, 50 physicians on staff. It's not a huge number. But they're really trying to keep those doctors on staff so they don't get recruited to the bigger hospitals. And split dollar arrangements, bonus arrangements. We've seen a fair amount of those come out of there. And law firms, definitely. Doesn't matter the size. We've seen national law firms and regional law firms where partners always need buyout coverage. They need key person coverage in there. Those are pretty straightforward. And I'm also throw out a couple others. We've done a fair amount of business with, believe it or not, real estate agents, a sales force in there. So there's larger real estate firms that have deferred compensation arrangements set up. They need to informally fund those. They're using life insurance as the informal funding tool for those, so they own the policies outright in there. And another scenario is the technology arena. Let's not forget, we talk about AI all the time. All those coders, programmers that are out there, We've had a few cases like that. They certainly have a lot of cash flow, and they want to keep their programmers or coders, today I guess is the word we use, on staff to do that. So we've seen some activity there.
Awesome.
I would say on a product front, Steve, we've been really heavy in the, moderate to maximum funding for that cash value accumulation type sell. But on June 27th, you heard it here at the Brew, we're coming out with a more level death benefit premium solve on our multi-life platform. So you can get that more death benefit protection type sell as well, not just the max funded cash accumulation sell. So keep that in mind on those groups as well who want a permanent death benefit protection product as well.
Absolutely. And I think as we wrap up here in the last couple of minutes, I'll make one thought comment and let you guys finish up with any closing thoughts and remarks before we finish up. But ultimately, this is a great tool. And again, the advisors listening in, we appreciate you taking the time to invest in growing your business. In addition to Brad and Doug joining and sharing their knowledge, hats off to anybody listening to this Brew to really grow what you want to do, because again, this is a space, this executive benefits planning space. There's a lot of untapped potential, in my opinion. We work with some great advisors that are really starting to dive into this, and it can be an open canvas of the clients that you have relationships with. So, again, make the ask, add it in. It can be a great addition and a great tool to grow in your practice. So, Doug, Brad, I'll let you guys finish up with closing thoughts before we finish her up.
Really, I just wanted to say thank you as well. Obviously, E4, you're one of our best partners. We appreciate that, and we appreciate all the advisors listening in. I think the main thing is to start asking the questions, keep it simple. Don't get way in the weeds. Just ask the questions, and then tap Steve and his team in, and he can bring us in, and we can provide a solution that's tailored to your client's needs. So thank you,
Doug. Any last bits of wisdom to part on our audience today?
Do not be afraid of the executive benefit space. A lot of us spend probably a lot of time in the wealth transfer or the estate planning arena because it's natural with clients. But the executive benefit space, with tax law changes, the corporate income tax coming down to 21% provides tremendous tax leverage for split dollar arrangements. And we're here to help. We're here to help.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Brad. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate you joining us today, as well as the incredible partnership that we have with E4 and Symetra. It really is a pleasure to get to work with the entire team every day at Symetra. Everybody from the two of you, shout out to Ash in contracting. I don't know if she gets as much love as I sometimes should, but I know Tracy really leans heavily on Ash, and she is a phenomenal partner in getting contracts turned around quick as well. In addition to the entire team there. So, as we wrap up, I would like to remind you that today's Brew and our entire library are shared on the Brew page on our website, www.e4.insurance. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep up with all the brewcasts, and they're released every Wednesday. Next week, the Brew will be released at 10 a.m. Central Time. You won't want to miss Josh Meester, Regional Vice President and Partner at E4 Insurance Service, next week on the Brew.